Okay, I'd like to call the April 2nd meeting of the City Council of the City of Cannon Falls to order. If we could have roll call, please.
Councilmember Bringold. Here. Duncan.
Here.
Gesme.
Here.
Lundell.
Here.
Mattson.
Here.
Montgomery.
Here.
And Mayor Altoff.
Here. Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Before we move with that, I'd like to remove item D on council business, the closed meeting.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda minus item 7D.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bill and a second by Morris to approve the agenda minus 7D, which is the closed meeting. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That brings us to public input. Citizens may speak to issues not on the agenda. Before speaking, please give your name and address for the minutes. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Comments must be pertinent to city business and adhere to data privacy rules. No employee's name may be used, and personal attacks will not be tolerated. Would anybody like to address public input tonight? Second call, public input. Third and final call, public input. Okay, we'll close the public input portion of the meeting. And we'll move on to consent agenda. And I'll tell you what's on here for you in the audience and you at home. Items on this area of the agenda may be adopted or they may be removed and placed on the business area of the agenda for discussion purposes before approving. Item A, just and correct claims for the accounting period ending March 26, 2019. Item B, minute meetings for March 19th, 2019 City Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mary Jill and a second by Morris to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That brings us to council business. Item A, where we review the priority goals that we talked about at the March 19th, 2019 meeting. Turn it over to Dave.
Thank you. Again, thanks to the council and staff for the month of March. On 2 separate occasions, the council and staff met together to talk about goals for the current and near-term future of the city of Cannon Falls, combination of council and staff. And we broke into 2 smaller groups and had lively conversation both on March 5th and March 19th, identifying the initial list of about 41 goals, as I recall, and later narrowed that down to the 6. And the 6 that were narrowed down by the 2 groups and ultimately by consensus of the City Council are identified on the materials that you've received tonight. And I just wanted to make sure before we went ahead and put together action plans or specific strategies for moving forward in terms of implementing these goals, just wanted to check with the council again to make sure that what we've drafted here represents kind of your understanding of the consensus that we reached back on March 19th. So if we can start with that, and if there's any corrections, suggested changes, let's talk about those. Once we've done that, then if there's acceptance of these goals, we'll go ahead between tonight's meeting and a future meeting of the City Council, begin to put some meat on the bones and some strategies for moving forward. But let's first start to clarify and confirm that this is kind of representative of what we talked about in the month of March.
Okay, let's go through it. The first area was public finance, service, and facilities. Goal A, to freeze and lower water sewer rates.
Freeze or lower.
freeze or lower water sewer rates, 2020, 2021. Communicate through the public throughout the decision-making process. Goal B, evaluate opportunities to improve use of space, energy efficiency, maintenance, and repairs in the existing city hall, and study whether or not to build a new city hall in Dakota County, redeveloping the present city hall site for other land use. Area 2, community planning and development. Goal A, plan and strategize for growth, annexation, redevelopment, available wastewater and water capacity. Goal B, plan and develop affordable market rate housing, rental and ownership, and daycare services. Area 3, internal and external operations. Goal A, improve communications by and between citizens, elected officials, and staff, and better manage conflicting situations and public expectations. And Goal B, improve our technology, an example, online payments. Is there any discussion by the council?
No, it sounds like what we talked about.
Yeah.
I think those were the priorities.
Yep.
They were.
Okay, with that said and that in mind, we'll move forward as staff to put, again, some further detail in terms of how we're going to move this forward, who's going to be involved, and bring back some strategies to the council at future meetings. But again, thank you. Obviously, some aggressive goals here, but we'll do the best we can to work with you to try to move these things forward.
Okay. Thank you. Item B, approve the revised format for the city council agenda.
Prior to starting the goal-setting process, we began talking generally about potential agenda revisions or revisions to the format of our agenda. Through the conversations that we had in the goal-setting, this agenda conversation did come back, and we chatted about that again. So it's been kind of a work in process over the last 2 months or so, I would say. I just want to call your attention to 2 items that have been added since our March 19th meeting to the last agenda format that you saw. One is under number 9, which is public input, and it's the final sentence where we talked at the goal-setting session about if we're accepting public input, no matter where it is on the agenda, first or last, that there wouldn't be a dialogue necessarily back and forth between the council and the public, that the public would be given the opportunity to come and address the council. You would ask any clarifying questions that you might have, but there wouldn't be any determinations, any decisions made at that time. So that sentence has been added to this agenda format. And then on the bottom of the agenda is just a note really for the public more than anything else to say that if you have something that you want to bring to the city council to be scheduled on an agenda, we do, as you know, we've got a deadline for getting staff input to get the agendas put together so we can get them out to the council prior to the regular Tuesday night meeting. And that deadline now has been set for generally 10 o'clock in the morning the Thursday prior to the Tuesday night council. So again, we've added that so that the public, as they look at these agendas, they can be reminded that there are deadlines here, that it's not so simple to just walk in on Monday afternoon and say, hey, I've got this great idea I'd like to talk with the council about and get me on the agenda. So we've included that note on there as well, and you haven't seen that before. But otherwise, the format that's here is as you saw before, and I think probably the one most significant area of discussion was related to public input. Does that stay at the beginning of the agenda? Does it stay at the end? And I know there were different thoughts about that, and it maybe wasn't finally resolved and should not have been during the workshop. So we should have some clarification direction from the council on that. But any questions on the format or any of the 2 additions that we've made? Okay.
I definitely like that sentence added because I think that really helps manage expectations, that someone doesn't really think that they'll come in and we'll just make a decision. You know, it's just not, that's good. I'm glad that's in there.
And as we've talked to, and Mary Jill, you know this, that our position as staff is we want to welcome the public to come in and work with staff prior to the city council meeting so that we can help direct traffic too.
Correct.
Because as we've talked before, sometimes the public just feels that they have to come here. Oftentimes they really don't. So why should they spend their time doing that? And the more that we can interact with the public earlier rather than later, I think it's going to be more efficient for us, more efficient for you.
And get a lot more done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well, I guess I would also say two things. One, having the public input later in the meeting, I think is a good idea because as we'll see when we get one of our next items, a lot of times individuals come and work through various committees or staff to work to get on the agenda, and I feel they should be served first before the public, comes up with something that they wish to speak to. And I would like to see us at least try this schedule for a few months, maybe through the summer. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we can always change it back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought maybe if we did it, try it 6 months.
Yeah.
Revisit it then, and if it's going well, we can keep it, and if not, we can always go back.
Right.
I agree.
So, yep.
I agree.
And the rights for the public remain the same, whether it's at the beginning or at the end.
Right.
So I don't see any harm in that.
Yeah.
I'm probably the lone stick in the mud. Things always come up in the community that need to be addressed, and anybody has had to sit through maybe some of the financial guys that come in here and speak, they could be getting that free Dairy Queen cone by then, right? So
Yes.
I'm in favor of leaving it the way it is, other than adding that sentence.
Well, I guess I'm going to make a motion that we try it as laid out here in front of us for a 6-month period and see how it goes, and then revisit it at that time.
Yeah, I'll second. We can always change it.
Do we need to change the language on the agenda for the approval being limited to 6 months?
Ooh,
Yeah, I don't think we need to do that. We'll monitor it as we go and,
Okay.
yep.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, a motion's been made by Bill and seconded by Mary Jill to approve the new format. Oh, I don't think I'm even going to say in a 6-month trial, just approve the format as presented.
Change it.
And honestly, if we find 3 months into the process that this just isn't working, we're going to hear about it and we'll probably change it at
Yeah,
that point.
we'll move it back.
We'll know if there's a
Yeah, we'll know.
Okay.
We'll know.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
5-1, it passes. Okay, that brings us to item C, the Mayo Clinic Health Systems Utility Bill. Maybe I'll turn that over to Mike.
Sounds good, thank you. So what we've got, we found an issue with the way Mayo was getting billed pretty much since the start of their facility up there back into 2014. What happened was they called to inquire about their bill in August, thought something seemed off with it. So what that did, it got us looking at their August bill, and we noticed what happened is their main meter water jumped the same as their irrigation meter, which kind of jumped out as odd to us. So we looked back that whole summer of 2018, and we noticed it happened each month that their irrigation meter was running. So we dug back a little bit farther and noticed it kind of kept continuing through the years. So we had, I think it was Wes, went out on site to give them a visit, see what was going on, why is this happening? And we noticed that the way they were installed isn't the way our software is set up to bill. So the way we install it is if your main water comes into the building, it should split and evenly go through meters. They should be banked or sitting in parallel and then go out to the piping that they need to, that meter is supposed to supply. these were stacked on top of each other. So anytime the irrigation meter was running, it was also spinning the main meter, which was also making them double pay for water and then also get applied sewer onto the irrigation water that they're running as well. So we had to go through and do the calculations, and with the tiered billing, it took quite some time to go through 4 years of that to kind of figure what their credit was owed. And that's what you see in the memo from 2014 to 2018 was the credits owed each month for sewer and for water. Myself and some Mayo staff that's here tonight, we met with the commission a few weeks ago, and I think the commission's direction is to give them 100% credit for the sewer and then kind of met them in the middle on the water. Let's go 50-50. We kind of didn't look at it as our fault. Obviously didn't look at it as Mayo's fault. Maybe it was who installed them. They weren't used to our system in Cannon Falls. Didn't really know. We didn't really want to go around the table like that. We just wanted to present something we thought was fair with everybody. Mayo seemed very acceptable to that offer. So we can just do something, move forward. This isn't, we're not talking it would take years to get this back. I think they'll burn it up within probably 10 months to a year if we, so that they wouldn't get any money back. It would just be a credit applied to their account. And then they would just work that credit down till it's gone, and then they would start seeing a bill again.
I assume it's fixed now and it.
Yes. So we had to.
Really good.
We were allowed to. We let them keep the meters the way they were. We just had to make a modification in our billing on their own account specifically to account for that.
Okay.
And then I've now added in a new procedure that anytime we have a multiple meter situation, we're going to be going on site to inspect that to make sure it fits our billing software from now on.
How many meters do they have?
Just the two is all you have on that site.
But they were
There
stacking.
too, they were just stacked.
They just happen to be stacked.
yeah.
So, and then the only thing I'll bring up, so I went through, I didn't, at Afton, go through all of our other accounts that have commercial meter and irrigation with each other. We are going to be talking about it at the next commission meeting because we did find one more in town that's been done this way. So this does set a little bit of a precedence on what we're going to do, because I went through the ordinances. We had no policies on, we've got sewer credit stuff, some ordinances we do follow, but nothing fit this exact kind of a problem. So we are setting putting a new policy in play here, but I think whatever we approve tonight, that'll be our precedent. So we go forward if this, we're hoping it never happens again because we'll be doing inspections now, but.
So a thank you card won't do it.
That's good.
We, just an FYI to remind everybody, every summer, whether it's Mayo or you at home, you do get a sewer credit to reflect possible sprinkling of your yard anyhow. So that credit they had coming regardless.
Really was owed them, yeah.
Just the extra water use that we negotiated, and both parties agreed, Public Works and.
Yeah, I mean, it looks generous when you look at the number, but I think it was fair to kind of meet them in the middle on that part. And
well, but when you figure that adjustment is only a fraction of what they actually pay.
Right.
So you need to remember that as well.
They're a pretty big user in our community of water, so, yeah.
I like my stuff clean, so that's fine.
Yeah. So that's what I've got for that tonight.
Okay.
Well, do we have a motion to accept that?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Steve and a second by Bill to accept the Mayo Clinic Health System utility bill. Compromise, I probably should say. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That leads us to reports. Staff. We'll start with Mike.
Well, again, Public Works stuff we've got coming up. We'll notify in the paper the next couple weeks, and then after that, we'll start in on hydrant flushing. So the residents will see us going around doing our hydrant maintenance, flushing. Things they can look out for is, sometimes you get a little bit of rust staining in the water. A lot of times it's just aerated, so it looks a little cloudy sometimes afterwards, and we get some calls wondering what's going on. It's just aeration, so it stirs the lines up pretty good. So city will expect to see that here at the end of April, first part of May. We started street sweeping this week. We're going to try to get ahead of the rainstorms, get all that sand off before they go down into our storm sewer system. So you see the street sweeper going around, probably going to make, there's quite a bit of sand out, so we might end up making 2 passes around town in the next few weeks before it's all done. So you'll see Chuck out doing that. It's kind of his task of the spring. We've done some cold patching around town. Our asphalt plant is set to open April 15th, so you'll see some more permanent patching coming after that once we get our hot patch mix going. And then we're already set to be first on the list with our spray patching company too. We've got some streets that need some pretty good band-aiding out there with some stuff that fell apart this winter. So by mid to end April, you'll see a lot of that start happening. And then I know we're gonna soon start getting some calls to start filling some of those holes in the boulevards. We had all those stumps out. As soon as we get the roads taken care of, we're gonna transition to that end April, early May too. So we got a pretty big spring list coming up. So that's what's going on us. And then the other thing I'll just give everybody a heads up on, and I'll remind you at the next meeting too, is fire department wise, we've got our pancake feed coming up on the 27th, that Saturday morning. So we'll be down there flipping pancakes all morning. So come on down. It's just a free will donation. If you want to just come in and eat pancakes, come in and eat. We'll have the boots there to fill up if you feel so desired. So you'll see that.
Hey, Mike, and maybe I hope I didn't miss when you say it. The list for the East Side 2, is that going to be a punch list on that being?
Yep, I talked to Wenzel, the contractor we had, and I've been talking with Greg Anderson. Pretty much as soon as the frost was gone, which we're about there, so I would see them coming to town in the next couple weeks. I've got a meeting with Greg next week. We're gonna go over a few other things, and then they'll start hammering out punch list item things. We had not a lengthy list, but there's stuff on it, so we'll need to go through that, and then we start watching the sod and things like that, see how that takes. So that'll start happening through April too, which we're early on that. I mean, I was not expecting our snowpack to be gone right now. I thought it'd be May before we got into some of this, so that's good. We need a jump start on spring, so yep.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Nicole?
Okay, now it's on. All right. I don't really have a whole lot. I just wanted to share, I had originally been trying to plan an Earth Day Expo, but I didn't get enough interest, so I have to cancel it on the 20th. I just couldn't get enough people to confirm that they wanted to do it, which is a bummer, but I'm going to start planning early for next year. So if I've contacted you, then plan, please. And then another fun little piece of news is yesterday I got a random email from Hennepin County Library. They had some furniture they're giving away, and so I scored some free chairs for the children's area that fit perfectly with our decor. So I'm going to go pick those up Thursday. So just be on the lookout for these really cute little leaf motif chairs that are really bright and colorful, and just get our library like they were made for us and free. That's my favorite word.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
Thank you, Mayor. So as we know, we've seen the rivers go down. We still have a couple big puddles in Lower Hannah's Bend. We didn't get any trees flooded in there that I saw. What we noticed was a lot of sand built up on the Little Cannon and the bike trail, but Mike got his guys on that right away and got that cleaned up. I don't think you're quite done with it, but we're documenting all of our cleanup efforts for that. Should we be able to get a declaration to get paid back for any damage on that? So the Cannon River crested at 15.53 feet, and I think that was Friday morning, and that's all recorded at the 9th Street Bridge over by the fairgrounds. The typical level is 8 feet, and today we're still at 11 feet. So what I kind of learned today, 11 feet, that's when that the first bike trail under the North Bridge starts to get impacted by water. So we did sandbag the one resident in town. I think that was kind of like knocking on wood. As long as we sandbagged it, we'd be good. If we wouldn't have, who knows?
Yeah.
But, and I just talked to him today, asked him if he's going to keep that all summer, and he said he didn't want to. So I said, well, we'll hang on to him. So, so yeah, as the water continues to recede, we'll identify any further issues. In the past, sometimes the water will wash away our riverbank, and that's things that we need to reinforce. This last weekend, we had an officer that was patrolling and noticed a vehicle that was kind of weaving. When he got that vehicle stopped and asked the driver to step out of the vehicle, he couldn't even walk. He tested 4 times the legal limit.
Whoa.
Holy Toledo.
These people are out there, and if you see this happening, please call us.
Oh my
There is
gosh.
no doubt that this guy would have harmed himself or others if he continued to
absolutely.
drive. So just, thank you to that officer for getting that seriously intoxicated driver off the road. And report driving. If you hear something, let us know. This week, so this Thursday, we have Coffee, Cops, and Conversation at 10:30 at the High Quality Bakery. Everyone is welcome. We always have a great time. Next week, we have Triad at the Senior Center. That's on Wednesday at 10 a.m. And we have the former chaplain for the Minnesota House of Representatives, Lonnie Titus, joining us. So it'll be good to hear from him. And one of the things that we'll be bringing to the council is our summer event and road closures. So if anybody's got any events that I haven't already spoke to, let me know so we can get that on the agenda to get that approved. One of the new ones this year will be the Flavor of the Falls, and looking to close Mill Street similar to Fun Fest events, but that would be a day-long activity on a Saturday. So everybody's been notified of that, and everybody's looking forward to that, so that's all I have. Thank you.
Dave.
With Kyle here, thank you for this. The EDA has been involved with this, the farmers market has been involved with this, and Kyle has been very, very patient with us and others to put this together. Thanks, Ken, too. So great job, thank you. And happy to report to the council, and that Linnell is happy to receive another $25,000 payment from the Historical Society on the house that they purchased. So we appreciate that as we have the first payment, and we hope that they continue this trend and we have that debt retired in the not so distant future. But thanks again to the Historical Society for another payment.
Linnell?
I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay. Steve?
Well, I had a couple calls that people commented on your efficiency of getting the agenda out extra early last week. Well, I'm thinking Dave has been a drag, and when he's on vacation, everything happens better. It was just a one-time shot. All right, that's all I got.
Man.
Not city business, but if you're not doing anything this weekend, the Cannon Falls Education Foundation has their yearly auction. This year it's returning back to Mill Street, so Saturday, I believe 5:30 to 10 o'clock. $10 at the door should be a lot of fun, so if you have nothing going on, we'd love to see you.
Bill?
Yeah. It was just, it was wonderful. It wasn't that many weeks ago. We were thinking we might have a 1965 flood event, and by God, yesterday, the Cannon Falls Bombers baseball team played their first game at John Birch and beat Byron 4-3. So that was wonderful to be there and see the boys get started and get a good jump on spring for all our spring sports.
Hey, Derek.
Nothing for me tonight.
Mary Jo?
All I have is that I did have a citizen unsolicited say how beautiful Minnesota Street looks. And I hope they meant the east side, not the west side. Didn't ask. I assume they meant that. Oh, boy. That's all I've had.
Yeah.
Morris?
Okay, you all got the League of Minnesota Cities annual conference in Duluth. In there is the first-time attendee. Instead of $400, it's like $150. I went to it last year. It was in St. Cloud. It's very good. So if you're really thinking about it,
Really? Okay.
you know, it's a good thing for us. That's all I got.
That's a good tip.
A couple things that I've got. Ryan Seabright from the Tillian Brewery called. He's wants to know if he could maybe get a food truck outside. We talked about this last fall, and a couple of the local restaurants kind of didn't like it, but he has told me that he's talked with Dudley and Ryan at Mill Street and with Chris, and they're okay with it. Putting a food truck by the brewery on weekends and maybe during the week too.
Haven't they had one there?
Isn't there
They've
one
had
hiding
Nick's
in
there?
In
Well, maybe they've already got one. I thought they
something
had
that says pizza on the side. Did you see that, Derek?
Well, I thought Nick's Diner has been there before, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, maybe he's the food truck that's gonna be there, but
That could be.
I don't know if we can do anything tonight, or we have to put it on the agenda to approve it, or,
Yeah, we talked about this several times in the
Several times, yeah.
last several years, and I think the interpretation that was made for the truck that was on the west side of Tillian was on the basis that that was, it's publicly owned property, which technically it should not have been there, but if it's privately owned, maybe it could be. So I think it was one of those where there was an interpretation made that, well, okay. But we've never adopted official language that permits, licenses, regulates food trucks. We don't have that in our ordinance, and that's always been kind of the ping pong ball where some have wanted it, some haven't, and we never got to the point where enough of the councilors said, yep, let's do this. We can look at it again. There's different ways to do it. There's different ways to regulate it. There's different ways to license it. There's different ways to permit it. There's different ways to allow food trucks to sell product in the community. So it's probably a conversation, if we want to go back, I don't know, to Public Works Commission, or we want to come back and work through a workshop with the council, there's some choices that will have to be made by the council to help kind of set the parameters of what's allowed and what isn't. So it's done in many places, so it's not, something that can't be done. It's just that we're going to need some policy direction on the terms.
Well, how does it work on Fun Fest? There are always trucks there. Is that something else? There's always, the...
Just on Mill Street for
Yeah,
the chain,
yeah.
it's been kind of part of that event. Yeah.
Oh, so there isn't a special permitting?
No. It's a temporary, it's one time only during that event.
All right.
Yeah, and what Tillian's looking for, they've come before and asked us is, if it's on the west side of the building, which still is property that we own right next to Veterans Lane, they've asked to purchase it, it's never been sold, we still own that. So if we we're going to permit a food truck on public property, that would fit. We would just have to define, the terms in that location. But they've come and asked before, and it's been denied in the past, so they're asking again. And like I say, we would just need some direction from the council to start putting together some language.
Last year, wasn't there something to do with the truck, and then it was down by 19 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're a moving truck selling food. It was moving around because, again, we don't have the ability to write a permit to say, here's the permit to allow you to do what you want to do, so it kind of...
I've worked at places in the past where they would have like an Augie's truck show up at break time and lunch.
Right.
And we do have a few larger businesses in town that, who knows, maybe they'd be interested in something like that.
Yeah. Honestly, the ones that we saw, and this was probably several years ago, I think Ron Johnson at the time brought in, 3, 4, 5 different cities of how they were regulating these things. And interestingly enough, you wouldn't think there'd be that much difference, but there is. It's based on local preference. What's the impact of a food truck to the existing brick and mortar restaurants in the community? How do people feel about it? How often? Where can it be done? Those things have to be kind of defined.
well, can we put it on the Public Works agenda next week? And then you make a recommendation at the next council meeting? That work?
Well, yeah, they can do all the research by then.
I think Ryan wants to get it going,
I'm so excited about this.
I think I can see our discussion at the next meeting. Let's do it.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
It's the federal parameters.
Right.
Well, didn't, Dave, that one person that wanted to park there, didn't he want exclusive? He wanted to park there, but he didn't want you to let anybody else?
I didn't talk to the individual. I heard it from others, but yeah, there was some requests made that just weren't.
Well, my concern is, Mike, are you going to have enough time to gather information?
So, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be the issue, because we're meeting next week.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have a little preliminary discussion, but I don't think we'll be able to bring anything forward for the next meeting.
Okay.
Mayor, I think, yeah, time is important, obviously, in terms of what Tillian's request is again, but they've been down this road before. I think my sense, because I've heard from them every year since they've first opened, that they'd like to see something like that. If they had some sense that the current council was leaning towards at least giving reasonable consideration to an ordinance that would allow it, that'd be a good first message for them, subject to details, and I think that would probably let them know that, well, subject to details and consideration by the council, maybe this will happen this year for them.
I think it's reasonable.
Could we take an
frankly.
unofficial
Yeah.
vote right now? Who likes
straw
the
poll?
idea of food trucks?
Yeah,
Well, what are they having? I mean, you gotta.
lutefisk.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's something we should
the
talk
guy
about.
from Pine Island was there,
Yeah.
with the Kringle burgers or what?
Yeah, or what, yeah.
What do they
They're
call them?
good, yeah.
The concerns,
Maid rights, the old maid
Yeah.
rights.
No, they're regulated. We'll have,
the concerns that we've heard in the past are the ones related to the mayor just mentioned, that the local restaurant owners, if there's going to be opposition, it's typically from them. We'll take Cannon Falls out of the equation, where they would say, you're allowing a non-property tax entity to come in and compete with a property tax paying
true.
entity, and it's competition that we as a restaurant owners don't really need or want. I mean, that's the most typical argument that I've seen.
well, what I would say is I'd give special consideration to someone who is selling something that you couldn't get anywhere else in town.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I don't particularly think there should be an ice cream vendor or a pizza vendor. I agree, you know. But lutefisk sounds
What I'll
great.
do is I'll email Ryan and say we're kind of leaning toward it, but I want to talk to the winery in Mill Street and Dudley myself
Reasonable.
and see where they're at on.
We don't want to just open the doors and have food truck wars
Absolutely.
along every public parking spot that we.
Yeah,
Right, yeah, that's not
yeah.
daddy either.
Do other small towns make them get licenses or pay a fee for like a one-time use? Like tonight, Thursday night costs you $40, park your truck, and boom, you're good to go.
There can be what's defined more as a temporary permit or a temporary license versus a seasonal or year-round. And there's typically a fee, but from the fees that I've seen, maybe, I don't know if Linnell's seen some, but it's not a kind of it's not like getting a full liquor license fee. Typically, it's not that kind of dollar magnitude. So it's more of a processing administrative fee-related item that, at least that I've seen.
Is there something, Dave, like League of Minnesota Cities, do they have some template to follow on what they've been doing?
Like I said,
that's where I would look first, I think, is to see what they recommend, but.
We can probably provide some pretty prompt information, because it must have been 2012, 13, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I think it was Ron that had received 4 or 5, 6 different samples, and we can get it from the league. So, I mean, it's not going to take long to pull that together.
But this came up last March when Tillian opened, and they asked about it then, and I think it was declined then, I think.
Plus, it would be, I would guess, have to be seasonal also. I mean,
I don't know, but food trucks are pretty
Yeah.
year-round.
Yeah, we've seen, in employment centers like the industrial park, there's a potential even in Cannon Falls, a small community where you've got a large concentration of employees that maybe it is economically feasible. I don't know. I don't operate a food truck, but in a more densely developed metropolitan area, yes, we will see them outside of commercial areas. Here, don't know.
Okay, well, maybe the Public Works can give us a preliminary.
We'll have a discussion.
we'll take a look.
But I'm going to email Ryan and say the council's probably leaning.
Invited to come to the meeting, we can talk about what you want.
I'll just have the planning commission in a corner over here.
We're certainly not opposed. I don't think anybody appears.
Subject to.
Absolutely.
Another thing I was going to bring up was I get emails from the Census Bureau, and they're asking the city to participate in a new construction program. And what they're asking is to update residential addresses with living quarters, that were constructions in progress and expected to be done by April 1st of 2020. They're just trying to keep tabs on
New construction.
the count, Some cities participate, some don't. I don't think we have in the past. The bigger cities like Hastings and Red Wing probably are, but whether it's going to take volunteers to do it, get the addresses up to date. But it's something to consider.
Well, it can't be that huge of a job. I mean, there aren't 4,000 houses being built or anything, so.
But it's something to consider. I think the deadline for this is in July, but I've got a couple emails on it already, so something to consider. I'll bring it up at a future meeting.
Okay.
But it's strictly volunteer. There's no pay for a volunteer going out and doing this, so. I'm going to bring up one thing. If the council would be interested in having their July meeting at the fairgrounds at the Can Valley Fair.
Do I bring my instrument?
Well, it might be the same night the community
That's what I'm
band is
thinking. If
playing.
the
because
community band is playing,
It'd
then
have to
no.
be some time, it'd have to be on Monday night, and whether it's at 6 or 7, the time isn't right, but
Where would it be?
in the
Trailer?
pavilion there, but
We've done it a number of times.
I'm just wondering if there's a derby or something going on, are we gonna be able to
no,
hear?
Monday night there isn't, that's why I'm saying
Okay.
that we'd have to
Maybe
change
it'd
it
be
to
better
Monday
if they
night.
couldn't hear.
There's no
Yeah,
derby.
maybe it would.
But I mean, the county commissioners meet there on Tuesday, I mean. the
Sure, I
city
think we
council
should,
could
I
meet
think
there.
we should do it. Do we have to
Be
do
fine.
something special for a change of venue?
No.
Just post it?
Posted, and
Okay.
especially if it's a different day.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're talking, what, July 2nd?
It'd
I don't
be
even know what
Monday,
that would-
whatever that is, if
July
that's July
1st?
1st, I think. Because the rest of the nights there's demos and we don't want to.
Oh, yeah, we don't need that, no. We don't want that kind of competition.
But I'll bring it up at the next meeting too, but,
Yeah, sure.
and again, don't forget the Ed Foundation Saturday night at Mill Street. And again, kudos to that Discover book and who put the input in that. It's a
Nice
great
job.
looking book.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else got anything else? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Bill and a second by Derek to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.